Welcome back to the channel. I remember buying a used Series X back in the summer of 2024 for $350, and even paid the seller on Marketplace an extra $50 to ship it for me since it was still a good deal and came with an elite controller. During that time, Series X and S consoles were hella discounted for some reason, but I guess it was cause people were realizing they either didn't need it or wanted to sell for cash. Anyways, today I found out that for the first time in I think forever, we're seeing this generation's consoles costing more than their release date MSRP. That's right, I said more not less. This is cooked because for a long time, video games were the ultimate accessible escape and consoles were a way cheaper way to get in compared to PC. But if you look at what is happening to the hardware market right now in 2026, it feels like that era is officially over. Today we need to talk about why the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X are getting incredibly expensive, why the corporations in charge are making record profits while demanding more of your hard-earned money, and what this all means for the future of our favorite hobby. If you find this breakdown helpful or agree with what I have to say, please consider leaving a like or subscribing, and with that in mind, let's get into it. To really understand how bad things have gotten, we have to take a trip back to the launch of the current console generation in 2020. Despite the massive supply chain issues and the global lockdowns happening at the time, both Sony and Microsoft launched their flagship consoles at a very reasonable price point. The disc version of the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X both launched at $499. If you were on a tighter budget, you could grab the digital edition of the PS5 for $399, or the less powerful Xbox Series S for just $299. It felt like a fair deal for next-generation technology, and millions of us eagerly bought into the ecosystem expecting the usual cycle of gaming hardware to run its course. But fast forward to today, and the market has completely flipped on its head. Instead of these consoles getting cheaper as they age, the prices have skyrocketed. Just recently, Sony announced a massive global price hike that took effect on April 2, 2026. The standard PlayStation 5 now costs $649, which is a massive increase from its original launch price. The digital edition jumped to $599. And if you want the mid-generation upgrade, the PlayStation 5 Pro, you're looking at an absolutely eye-watering price tag of $899. Microsoft hasn't been much better, with the Xbox Series X also climbing up to $649 following their own rounds of price hikes. Even the supposedly budget-friendly Xbox Series S has crept up to $449 for the 1TB model. What makes this situation so incredibly frustrating is that it goes against the entire history of the video game industry. In every previous console generation, hardware always got cheaper over time. Think back to the PlayStation 2, the Xbox 360, or the PlayStation 4. When those consoles first launched, they were expensive because the internal components were brand new. But as the years went on, manufacturing processes became more efficient, components became cheaper to produce, and the companies passed those savings down to the consumer in the form of price cuts or cheaper slim models. This current generation is the very first time in gaming history where 5-year-old hardware is actually significantly more expensive today than it was on launch day. We are paying premium, next-generation prices for technology that is half a decade old. So what is the excuse? If you ask the executives at these massive corporations, they will point the finger directly at the global economy and the supply chain. Specifically, they are blaming a massive surge in the cost of memory chips, or RAM. Over the last couple of years, tech giants like Google, Meta, and Microsoft have been in an absolute arms race to build massive artificial intelligence data centers. These data centers require unbelievable amounts of memory to function, and because AI is the hottest trend on the stock market, memory manufacturers are prioritizing those highly profitable enterprise chips over the components used in consumer electronics like smartphones and gaming consoles. Analysts note that the cost of RAM has surged dramatically, with some estimates showing a 130% increase in combined memory costs by the end of 2026. When you combine this memory crisis with global inflation, fluctuating tariffs, and currency weaknesses, the manufacturing costs for a console have undeniably gone up. While those geopolitical and supply chain issues are technically real, it is incredibly important to understand that they should not be an excuse to pass the entire financial burden onto the consumer, especially when you look at the actual financial health of these gaming divisions. Let's look at Sony as a prime example. While they claim that these price hikes are a necessary step to continue delivering high-quality gaming experiences, their own earnings reports paint a picture of immense corporate wealth. In late 2025, Sony recorded record operating profits of roughly $3.3 billion for the quarter. The PlayStation division specifically contributed about $900 million to that total, which was a 19% increase year over year. Console manufacturers have historically sold their hardware at a loss or razor-thin margins because the real money is made on software sales, digital storefront cuts, and monthly subscriptions. Sony and Microsoft are making billions of dollars off of digital game sales, microtransactions, and premium subscription services like PlayStation Plus and Xbox Game Pass. The idea that a company generating record-breaking billions in profit absolutely has to squeeze an extra $150 out of a teenager buying a 5-year-old console is just pure corporate greed. They are choosing to protect their massive profit margins at the direct expense of the players who built their brands in the first place. This brings us to a very dark realization about the future of our hobby. If prices continue to trend in this direction, we are heading toward a reality where we will all be completely priced out of gaming. Budget gaming is essentially on its deathbed. When the barrier to entry for a standard console is nearly $700, and the games themselves cost $70 to $80 each before you even factor in downloadable content and battle passes, video games are no longer a pastime for the average person. We are watching the medium slowly transform into a luxury hobby reserved strictly for the ultra-rich. If a regular working-class family cannot afford to put a console under the television for their kids, the entire ecosystem will eventually collapse because the player base will shrink dramatically. But perhaps that is exactly what the industry giants want, because pricing us out of physical hardware perfectly sets the stage for their ultimate endgame: cloud gaming and the death of ownership. If nobody can afford to buy a $900 console or a $2,000 gaming PC, the companies can step in and offer a seemingly convenient solution. They will tell us that we don't need to buy expensive hardware anymore because we can just stream all of our games directly from their servers to our televisions or smartphones. While that sounds convenient on the surface, it is a terrifying trap. Cloud gaming represents the final step in stripping away consumer rights. You won't own a console, you won't own a physical disc, and you won't even own a digital download. You will simply pay a perpetual monthly fee for the privilege of accessing a library of games that can be altered, censored, or completely removed at any moment without your permission. It is the ultimate realization of the modern corporate philosophy, where you will own absolutely nothing and you will be expected to be happy about it. The current price hikes aren't just about covering the cost of expensive RAM chips. They are about slowly conditioning the market to accept a future where physical hardware is a luxury item, and the rest of us are forced into an endless cycle of digital renting. Thank you so much for watching. If this video resonated with you, drop a comment down below with your thoughts on the current console prices and where you think gaming is headed. Let me know if you are holding on to your older consoles or if you have already been priced out of the current generation. Please leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already, as your support truly keeps this channel going. Stay safe out there, keep enjoying the games you actually own, and I will see you in the next video.